That's right, kiddos. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, the scariest time of the day, if you ask me, and time for another edition of Freezer Treats, 13 Days of Halloween. This is our chance to introduce ourselves to some of you folks that maybe haven't listened to our shows before, but enjoy this time of year and would like to hear something a little bit scary to start your day. Freezer Treats, of course, is a podcast where we feature just a little sample of one of our plays, and during this October, we will be doing one new horror show per day, every weekday, leading up to Halloween weekend. So it'll give you quite a bit to listen to, and we encourage you, of course, to take a look at the links available in the show notes of this podcast episode. That'll give you a link to today's play, which is entitled The Diary. Now, I have to admit, I have a little soft spot for this show because when you talk about the types of horror stories that scare me, it's ghost stories for me. Ghost stories do it for me every single time, and I really enjoyed producing this play. It's very simple in its sound design and structure. Stars Aela Mackintosh and Linda Faith, and it tells the story of a woman who is charged with sifting through the discarded life of her aunt who has recently passed away. She goes to this house. You can imagine it, right? A big empty house, was lived in by a maiden aunt for years, or aunt, depending on which part of the country you're from. And she discovers in the middle of this a diary, which is filled with many, many secrets. And at that point, learns that there might be something in the house that didn't want the diary found. Let's listen.
Aunt Mavis's papers had been left for me in cardboard boxes. The desk they were in, a prize now belonging to some cousin in Duluth, is gone. I'll work from the kitchen table. The next day, I begin. It only took me 5 minutes to find it. A black book, locking strap on the side. The gold letters on the front spelling diary had almost been worn off. I glanced at it briefly and then set it aside. I had a lot of work to do. I didn't think of the diary again until I'd worked through the morning. I was in her room, and the smell of lilac perfume brought me back to it. The key was nowhere to be found. I cut the strap with kitchen shears. It gave easily, like paper. It never occurred to me that there might be something wrong in this, reading my dead aunt's diary. It had no value. It held no interest for anyone but me. I suppose the only options would have been to read it or destroy it. I can't say I thought about the decision carefully. I didn't even make a decision. I just acted. I outread the light that first day. Have you ever done that? Gotten so engrossed in something that you're reading that you lose track of time? You squint harder and harder at the page until you realize you're squinting because the light is fading, is gone? I couldn't stop reading.
April 2nd, wash day.
That was Aunt Mavis when she was 13. The diary started around then.
Mom made me work twice as long as Carol.
Carol, that was my mother.
Mother made a big deal about our fighting, like we shouldn't fight so much. Nuts, I thought, but I couldn't say it out loud. Nuts!
I wonder if that was cussing in her day.
Carol gets away with everything just because she's prettier, and she knows how to work Mother like an old plow horse. I wish I could deceive like Carol, but everything that comes into my head shows up on my face. I can't feel anything without Mother knowing. Carol's like an actress, a professional liar.
My mother, an actress? I had never thought about it before, but I began to see it. Mother always did seem so controlled, specific, and she always knew what I was thinking no matter how hard I tried to hide it. Aunt Mavis had lifted a veil for me. That night I took the diary to bed and read for hours. I didn't look at the clock when I turned out the light, but I couldn't sleep, and I rose with the sun.
That was Aela Mackintosh in The Diary from the Frozen Frights podcast here at the Icebox Radio Theater. Once again, In the show notes of this podcast episode, you'll find both a direct link to this play as well as a link to the podcast, the Frozen Frights podcast, where you can listen to all of our spooky season offerings whenever you'd like. We recommend that you do that, of course. And we recommend you come back here tomorrow and enjoy another little morsel that we dig up for you on Freezer Treats, 13 Days of Halloween.